Hi, you. It's me, Nicole Phoenix Staff, and this is the Nick Star podcast. I've been having a lot of conversations lately with people who are wishing things were different. And this can be a very, very confusing state. And it's very interesting because I had this massive drop in last week because my mind was kind of playing tricks on me, asking me, should I be doing more? Should I be getting out more? Should I be, should I be doing blah, blah, blah? And I knew it was like just noise, but it was also like a little bit confusing because I wondered whether it was like spontaneous inquiry, but I knew it wasn't, but I was unsure, and all this stuff. And of course, there's been a pattern with lots of people have been talking with around ultimately wishing things were different. And, a really confusing thing is with other people in, I just wish their life wasn't so hard. I wish they weren't so negative. I wish that they were X, Y, or Z. And I'd say, so you wish they were behaving differently in a way that would be better viewed by you? And I went, oh, you put it like that way. Ultimately, yes, but I said, so you think that whatever you think or say or whatever is better than how they are? And they're like, oh, it's very confronting, but yes. And I said, like, if someone isn't behaving the way that we like, and even if they're not doing anything like terrible, ultimately we're wishing that they were different. And it's, no different with the self. And over the years, I have, lent deeply into the practice of acceptance, and whether that's with others, whether that's with myself, whether that's with a situation. And it's not like, giving up or anything, but it's just acceptance for what is in this moment. And that creates this spaciousness. And what I find is in that spaciousness, not only does it always work out, but there's this whole sense of relief. And rather than spinning in the shoulds or woulds or coulds, like insight arrives and so much change happens. And the very thing that you're wondering, should you be doing, kind of shifts in this automagical way. And, rather than trying to work it out from the mind, it's like, what is ever happening in this very moment is exactly what's happening. And, absolutely can learn from it, but can't change it. And I love my kind of very unsocial life. And there's a part of me that, says, oh, maybe you should get out more and connect more. And it's all about connection. And it's like, but that's not who I am. That's it. I've never been like that. Like, I've always been very into my own time and, the projection from society and, this illusion of needing connection and community that is absolutely amazing for some people, but not a blanket rule. And the thing is, I find that, like being in a community or in a connection is actually a reminder of a form of oneness. Like we're all in this together before we actually get to the point of realizing we are all interconnected and we are all, you know, consciousness experiencing itself. And when you know that, there's no real need to remind you or remind yourself through interacting with others. And, I caught up with a group of my students early in the week, and it was so lovely, being with people, and I really loved it. But it's not like something that I feel like I need more of, and it's just what's happening in that moment. And I don't know, like the practice of acceptance without the, ego mind saying, oh, you're just settling, or, you're lazy or whatever. All that all that stemmed from is conditioning and simplifying things. I always find if we can just come back to the basics and simplify things and come back to that full presence and not spinning out into the future or, kind of reliving the highs and or lows of the past. And I don't know, it just brings this incredible sense of relief and spaciousness and allowing you the full experience of each moment and how rich that can feel no matter how kind of uneventful it is. And so, yeah, there's just this really big pattern happening right now of people wishing things to be different. And I think it's got to do with, the collective field of what's going on in the world, which I find hilarious because every era and I don't know, always like people think it's kind of like end of the world stuff or all the drama or the chaos in the world. And it's like, I'm not really sure if it's never not been like that. A while ago, I was watching this show set in the 50s and 60s and just like all the fear around Russia and, from America and just, trying times. And you watch shows from all sorts of eras or listen to people recount times and, oh, they were hard times and the world's a messy place. And I'm like, it's just a different flavor, just a different color. Like it's always like that. Why do people think it's not? And yeah, rather than wishing things to be different, just showing up to them and operating from that space. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting and alternate way of being is like if everyone just practice being in the present moment and being in full acceptance, the experience is profoundly different. Profoundly. And our brain tries to wrap itself around that to understand it. And again, it's just trying to, again, imagine something that is unimaginable. So, yeah, I've had lots of conversations lately around wishing things to be different and how that's such a trap. And it doesn't, you know, create a lot of change and it doesn't shift much and it's not very fruitful. And rather than trying to kind of work everything out, is just truly being in acceptance without any expectations. And somehow the experience is incredibly different. Like it is unimaginable. So, yeah, I had this profoundly visceral experience last week where all of the noise just stopped. And this huge washing of gratitude of my life, and just being completely accepting for what is, and feeling a richness of living all the moments, no matter how kind of full or basic they feel, just completely lands different. Anyway, I'm going to complete out there today, a little bit of a shorter one, but that's okay. Maybe you can try on that. Not wishing things to be different, being in full acceptance, having no expectations, and just experiencing each moment. Thank you so much for listening. I am incredibly grateful. My website is www.nickstar.com, NIKSTARR.